Good rising, brethren. This is Big Judah coming to you guys from California. Before I begin, give all praises to the Most High Yahweh. Acknowledgement to the earthly mother. Who is wisdom? Who is Holy Spirit? Acknowledgement to Yahweh Shai. I pray the Most High blesses this lesson this evening. Gives us much better understanding of the events of the past in order to understand events that are currently happening on the earth. So we get a much better understanding of the things that are soon to come on the earth. Brethren, maybe you guys are thinking or wondering why we have a picture of Disneyland. I'll let you kind of guess why we have this picture here of Disneyland right now. This is a representation of what the Gentiles are trying to present to the world. They are showing how things are just going so swimmingly right now. How everything that they have said is going to come true with the vaccines and how everything's coming back to normal. They're showing you how the world right now that they have created is just like Disneyland. It's the greatest place on earth. And if you want to get back to normal, all you have to do is come and take this vaccine it's absolutely perfect. All the vaccines are just great. In fact, it's kind of like there's no such thing as bad news for them anymore. Nothing is going wrong. Everything is going right. Everything is working. The vaccines are working. They got the $1.9 million rescue package passed. They're buying another 100 million doses of the vaccine. They should have enough for everybody by March. And we should be close to normal by summer. And the vaccines are working on every single variant. It's just amazing how everything is working. Now, if you really believe that everything these people have done is working to perfection, I mean, when has that ever happened with them? When have they told the truth about anything? But we're supposed to believe that right now they're batting 1,000. All of a sudden, it seems like the information of the variants has been put on the back burner. The information about how many people are actually getting tested is kind of not really talked about. The fact that there's millions of people flying around every day, that's nothing we need to talk about. The fact that these states that are opening up right now, their cases are already going up. But we're not going to talk about that right now either. It's like it's okay to kind of fudge and make it seem like things are a little bit better. I mean, I expect that. I think we all kind of expect that things are a little bit better, but not to this extent. Not to the extent that there's absolutely nothing bad going on anywhere. That's where it gets a little bit too crazy. When you want to make it seem as if, everything is fine, everything is great, we're getting back to normal, we're opening up schools, we're going to open up restaurants, we're going to open up everything. When you start to hear this is like when you go to buy a car and you go, to you find a car you like, you start talking to the salesman, and this guy acts like, this car that has like 100,000 miles on it in 3 years, and I'm sure it's got some other things wrong with it, but this salesman will just sell it like it's the best thing ever. Oh, those are just freeway miles. That 100,000 miles in 3 years, that's just freeway miles. Don't worry about that. You know how they they kind of fudge everything and don't tell you the truth. That's what it sounds like is going on right here. Got a great salesman right now. You sit here, you just listen to them on the news, you just listen to them, and it's just like everything is just great. But we know better. We know better because we know that the 400 years is up. They got their 1 year reprieve, and you just start to think about it. Just think of the scriptures. When Saul had the power taken away from him, the first king of Israel, it just wasn't taken away right away. He still had power, but he knew that his power was waning. Saul knew that his power was slipping away from him. He knew the Most High had ordained another. And it took time before David assumed the throne. Same thing you're seeing right now. We didn't see it before until it happened. September 23rd, 2017. 2.5 years later, the Great Shutdown. 1 year from March 2020 to March 2021. That's like that time of Saul between the kingship of Saul and the kingship of David. It was just a feeling out period, just a waiting period for Saul to know. And he was losing his mind because he knew that the kingdom had been taken from him. Now you think about it right there this year. The Gentiles, the heathen, they know that their power has been taken away from them. They've had a year to get right, or at least to know what's coming. They've had a year. Just think of it, just like Saul. He had his time to wait after he had the kingdom stripped from him. That happened multiple times. But now that year is almost up. Got a little bit more than a week and a half. So here at the end, since pretty much March 1st, they have been it's like a PR war to show how great everything is. From the 1st of March to the 20th. We're halfway through it now. It's the 10th today, 10th of March. Got 10 more days. We're getting to our new year. Then all bets are off. Then they move into the real judgment of the Most High. So for these last 3 weeks or so, especially these last 10 days, they've just been pushing the vaccines on everybody. All of a sudden, they can have enough vaccines, and now they're just flooded with them. Anybody that wants it can get it. And a sister sent me an email, and it made a lot of sense about how this is, many of us thought that the vaccines, the way they said it before, was going to be just forced on everyone. But they're not being forced. People are given the option right now to take it or not take it, to enter Disneyland right here, where it's the happiest place on earth. Nothing bad ever happens in Disneyland. It's always good news in Disneyland. And that's exactly what you're seeing right now in this society. Everything is great. Everything is awesome. Just come and take the vaccine, and you can now go and see your grandkids. Now you guys can go in and you guys can have, a dinner together at your home if everyone's vaccinated. You can go out to dinner and, not have to worry about anything because you're vaccinated. Unless you feel sick, you don't really have to go and even get tested anymore because you're vaccinated. Everything is just great when you're vaccinated. That's exactly what they're pushing right now. And the people who don't want to get vaccinated, it's like, well, we need to, educate them. We need to go out and we need to educate them because I guess they're too stupid to figure it out them for themselves. See, they're used to that. We have to educate them. We have to tell them. We have to show them the error of their ways if they don't agree with us. See, that's what's going on. And now, like I said, the Most High is opening the eyes, opening our eyes. Their eyes are closed. They will do anything to get back to putting us in the bottom in order for them to get to that normal. But see, you got to look because they mix in some truths with a whole lot of lies. I'm sure many of you guys saw that one doctor that was talking about how we're in the eye of the hurricane, and he said on Sunday that he was on the same show 4 weeks ago, and he said the variants at that time were 3 to 4% of positive cases. Last Sunday, he was on these same shows, and he said it's been 4 weeks, and now the variants are making up 30 to 40% of the new cases. So you start looking at that 3 to 4 weeks, you were at 30 to 40%. One more week, we should be where? 40 to 50%. And that should be around this Sunday. Okay? Because that's when he was talking. He said once you hit 50%, that's when the cases begin to spike. Now we know that probably in some places it's already spiking, but are they really going to tell us that? No, because what? They live in Disneyland. There's no such thing as bad news in Disneyland. But if it's following the same pattern, and in 3 to 4 weeks it went up, to 30 to 40%, that would mean then that would make sense in that this weekend it would be 40 to 50%. And then it should be spiking on our way to our new year, which will be the following, Friday evening going into Saturday on the 20th. So everything is right on schedule. And I'm sure the Most High, whatever he's going to do to get their attention is going to be huge, and no one's going to miss it. There won't be any way for them to hide what the Most High is bringing at that point. So we're just building up, and they're building up. They're building a nice, big old, huge mountain right now, with opening up as much, just falling over themselves to open up as much as they possibly can. But when you're hearing all this good news, it's that's a little unbelievable. That's a little too much. The way they're talking, it's just a little too much good news. Too much, so much so that you really have a hard time believing it. It's like you guys really need to kind of mix in some bad news in order for people to believe it. It can't be that good. But see, people are so eager to want to believe that they're going back to normal that they're just going to eat it all up as much as they possibly can. Which, like I said, you start thinking though. We start talking about Britain. We were talking about, Ireland, and all of a sudden they have a huge story about how the the king, the queen, and the family are a bunch of racists. That's just the Most High bringing out more truth. We already know that. We already that's old news for us. But the Most High is just, he's just buttoning up little things here and there, just giving us more knowledge, understanding. So we can just see that, the way they're talking, it's just too much good news. Way that they're talking about the variants and how they're kind of like not talking about it because they act like, these vaccines are going to, catch everything. That just doesn't even make any sense either. But that doctor, what he said, that does make a lot of sense. In 4 weeks, it went from, say, 4% to 40. It would make sense then at 5 weeks, it would be at 50. He says once it gets to 50, that's when the numbers start to spike. So we should start seeing numbers spiking very soon. And the only way they can get away with all the good news right now is because anything that's bad, they don't report on it. They don't talk about it. They keep it hush hush. When I went to Disneyland, I didn't want to hear any bad news. Just turn my phone off. Don't want to hear anything. I just want to hear the good, I want to enjoy the happiest place on earth. And that's where you're at right now with these people. They don't want to give up this land. This land is very important. I'm going to do another video on that really soon and how it's connected with Britain, Ireland, and Americas and how important the land is. They're not ready to give that up. They're not ready to get swept off. But that's what the Most High already said was going to happen. As we grow, the same number of people as we keep growing, the numbers of the ones producing that bad fruit, they're going to be swept off the lands. So, like I said, we must be growing like crazy because we know that broom is going to get much bigger than it was in 2020. All praise is to the Most High Yahweh. Acknowledgement to the earthly mother. Who is wisdom? Who is the Holy Spirit? Acknowledgement to Yahweh Shai. Shalom.